Well, hi, good morning. You're looking at the next radio I'm about to start working on. This is probably the biggest, certainly one of the heaviest radios I've ever handled. It's a beauty. So you can see the chassis is off to the side there already, so the chassis in fact is completely loose in this radio. So I'm going to spin it around, we'll take a look at the back. I've done nothing whatsoever with this except bring it in here. So you're seeing it the way I'm seeing it too. And yes, the front dial glass is smashed on this radio. So let me spin it around. Well, spin it, yeah. Whew. A couple more tubes, some knobs in this bag. There she is. Holy smokes. She's got a gigantic receiver and a big amplifier down there in the bottom. Oh boy. So, yeah. What do we do about this? Normally I like to turn these guys on right away and see what they do. What I'm thinking is maybe I can get this up, get the insides up onto my bench and still maintain a connection back to the speaker in here. Oh my gosh, you gotta see the size of the speaker in there. Oh, you can kind of see it already there. Look at that thing. It's a monster. Wow. But that would come out pretty easy. You know what? It's just there's no transformer on the speaker, so that's just a voice coil speaker there. That means I can use another speaker. I don't need to use that big one while I'm working with it, so that's good. That means I can bring the whole shebang out onto my bench, and we can operate it there. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to set about doing that, and we'll see what it looks like when it's up on the bench. We'll get a better look at it. Oh my gosh, look at the size of that thing. Holy smokes. Okay, already making some interesting observations there. You can see the smashed glass, but you know, what does it really matter? The glass was so faded anyway. That's terrible. So maybe it's fortunate it's broken. We can get a new one. I can get a new one. It's going to look great. I already know that. Okay, next thing to come up is going to be the amplifier. Should I put this? How long are the wires? The wires are pretty long. Interconnecting between this and the amplifier. Well, I can always move it around. Let's move this back a little bit. Okay. And we'll put the amp right here. Whew. That's a bench load of stuff I've got here now. Oh my gosh. Not a lot of room for work. Anything left in the cabinet? Just the connection to the speaker. And there's a plate that's associated with this, a colored plate. I'm not exactly sure what it's doing yet, so Okay, where do we start with this? Obviously, very careful and close observation, I think, before we do anything. So there's a lot here to look at. Holy smokes. Let's start with the amplifier. It's probably a little simpler than the rest of it. Just gonna take some of the lighter dust off here. Okay, that was great. Now it's all shined up. Looks like new. So not much to see on the top here. Here's the speaker cord. Wow, this doesn't look original. This is lamp cord. So someone's already done the speaker cord. That's great. Okay, that raises the question as to whether it's the original speaker there or not. And it looks like, I'm going to guess, a rectifier tube and then 2 output tubes. What are these tubes? Let's take a look. Let's see, we'll take them out. Oh wow, I don't think these have been out for a while. There. 2A3, made in China. Wow, these are not old. So these are not... I've never seen a tube so boldly stated like that. They don't look brand new. They got lots of dust on the top of them. Chinese made 2A3. Well, the good news is this is probably in much newer condition than you might imagine for a radio like this. I wonder how many more of these tubes have been done like that. Wow, that just really goes in there pretty hard. And 2 of them have been replaced. This has got to be a number 80 here, I'm sure. 5Z3. Okay, I've never heard of a 5Z3. It's written right on the right here, 5Z3. Okay, so this is a high-end radio, so it's likely to have some parts that you wouldn't normally find in a lower, cheaper radio. Wow. This transformer looks really old too. So output transformers were a big deal because you had to control a lot of factors and at the same time try to produce something that's going to exhibit the right impedances across a range of frequencies relative to the speaker. Okay, let's flip it this way here. This must plug into the back of the radio somewhere. Yeah, there's an outlet in the back for it. Let's look under. Find out if somebody's changed the tubes. Did they do anything underneath here? Okay, that's good. Well, not much under here. Wow, it's an empty can. So there's a replaced part there. There's a resistor here that to me looks fried. Look, it's airborne. This is airborne. You hear that little clicky sound? That was something giving up the ghost already. This is a piece of junk. This wire's broken here, broken here. The insulation's broken. There's a fuse. So somebody did this. This is somebody else's work here, putting a fuse in. I don't know how... well, it's there. It's not something I do. I don't fuse these. But I know a lot of repairers like to insert a fuse. Some of these wires look replaced up here. See, the terminal's broken off and it's just gone to the wire on that one. Fiddle too much with these. Yeah, all the terminals seem to be broken off of here. So the terminal would be a point where the wire inside the transformer terminates. when you manufacture the transformer, that they'll terminate the winding on the terminal, and then you connect the external wiring to the terminal tab. The terminals are gone. On a lot of these, it's just wire. In fact, this is a ground connection here. You know, I'm just making observations. What's this? Primary, secondary, secondary, primary. And what are these? What are these anyway? Doing here? There's a great big transformer on top. There's two more up on top. There's this one, the big power transformer, and then there's one up above here. Well, without looking at the schematic, I'd just be taking wild guesses. So down here is the capacitors. So yeah, I don't know what this is doing here. This looks bad. So a few parts got to be changed here. Certainly, I think this resistor's got to go. It's got a weird look to it, maybe from being fried. The capacitor doesn't look like the greatest capacitor in there either. It looks electrolytic to me. What's that doing there? So a few things to explore on here, but there's not much to it. And where does the audio signal come in for this? Oh, here we are. So yeah, you can see from this side. There's this multi-terminal big plug. It must be hanging out of the back of this. Where? Oh, that's kind of weird. So here's the. So this is the cord for the magic eye, no doubt about it. This is a light bulb that should go somewhere. How do you plug this in? So there's a big plug back here and a big plug here. Where's the cord? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Something major is missing here. It's me who took this out. I remember now. When this came, this tube was in here, and I took it out and put it in the bag to protect it. But, oh my gosh, this is really a disappointing situation here. Cabinet. Is it hidden in the cabinet somewhere? Son of a gun. Ooh, what about in here? Let's take a closer look in here. I have a feeling we're stuck before we start. Knobs, screws, and one old tube. So that's the old rectifier tube there, 5Z3. Let me leave that out because I don't want it in this bag anymore. Well, wow, isn't this something here? We got this far. It's been a lot of work this morning getting this radio in here and ready to go. I've had to move a lot of stuff around in my house. I can't let it just come to an end here. Could it be underneath the chassis? What would it be doing underneath the chassis? I don't know. Well, let's go on the assumption that it's going to pop up at some point. I have it here and I don't know it, and I will find it. So what we'll do is we'll carry on with the general examination. At least I know what I'm up against when I really take a run at this guy. Okay, Mr. Radio. It's the inner pointer and the outer pointer. So 150 kilohertz, 1700. This is AM, long wave, 6 to 18 short wave, and then it must be like 2 to 6 on this band. 4 bands, 5 bands. There's a rubber belt drive here that looks to be in bad shape. It's cracked, something terrible. It's going to bite the dust before too long. have a reduction, like a fine-tuning thing here. And we usually just drive this harder. Yeah, whoa. So it's all working, but wow, this belt is not long for this world. Did the capacitor move? Yeah. It's all gear driven in there. That's quite unusual. It's again not a lot up on top here. Here's the antenna terminal. The ground terminal is broken away here. Like there's spots for more tubes. So there must be another model up yet from here. See, one of the screws holding this sub-chassis down is missing over here. That's often a sign that it's been off. You get this off, you have to get this, you have to take the whole thing apart. And we might turn our attention to how did this happen. So inside the cabinet, hanging down, is a large clip to hold the magic eye. Now there's a chance this was shoved in, hit the clip, and they just kept shoving. I know better than that myself. No shoving. So that's probably how this got broken. Anything else to take a look at here? So, now these magic eye cords get very stiff. Sometimes, not in this radio maybe, but in some radios, the particular style of radio, this cord goes right by the rectifier tube, sits on it actually, and heats up. So it looks like somebody's tried to protect it down here. What's happening down here that it needs to be protected? Just going through the hole here. Hopefully that doesn't mean there's some damage under there. The wire actually seems pretty good. Now, if we look at all, there's a lot of rubber grommets in here. Let's see if you can get a look at it. So there's rubber grommets holding this plate, this sub-chassis, and then there's rubber grommets here, and as usual, you know, these are shot. See, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't rattle like that. They do this for a couple of reasons, and which one is important here I don't know. One is to isolate this away from the chassis and actually insulate it, and there'd be a sleeve, a non-conductive sleeve, the screws going through and everything. And in that case, sometimes the frame of this, especially in the 5-tube radios, the frame of the capacitor can be live depending upon which way you've plugged it in and all that kind of stuff. So I always look for these things and ponder whether this is a shock hazard being put in front of me. I don't think so offhand. So another reason is they want this to have a little bit of play in it, because of all the knobs and everything up here. That doesn't make a lot of sense, did it? Okay, I've drained my imagination on why they use grommets. But I think we're going to have to replace a couple of these anyway to get this guy a little more stable. The frame up here is bent. I think it's an easy thing to just bend it back and the new glass will fit in fine. I don't think there's a permanent problem here when we get around to that. How about the tubes here? So a lot of tubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 tubes in the radio. This great big power supply, or transformer. So, and this certainly looks like a rectifier tube. Let's just take a look. 5Y3, it says on it. 5U4. Oh. So this is a 5U4, but right on the right here it says 5Y3. So I don't think you can interchange these two tubes. I think a rewiring job has to be done. So we'll look for that, I think. So got nice capacitors here in metal cans. Probably still okay. Got a probably the power supply choke coil. This is probably 2 rectifiers here. Let's take a look. Let's see what we got. No, I don't think that's a rectifier. A 45. Ooh. This guy's got expensive tubes in him. 45. Isn't that an output tube? So it could be they're using these 245s here, down here, 245s to power the two output tubes on the amplifier, because there's no preamp over here. So this must be what's going on. So they've got a fair bit of oomph coming out of them. I think that's what's going on there. We got two identical tubes here too. Why would that be? No, they're not quite identical. We got a tube here with a paper sticker on it. The paper sticker sometimes indicates the tube when it was purchased. The seller put a date sticker on it and made a promise. You know, if this tube blows and within 6 months you can bring it back, I'll give you part of its value on your next tube. Because tubes were very unreliable in the early days, and people were, you know, buying them, probably taking them home, and they're probably failing almost immediately. So they'd be pretty upset. So let's tip this up. The big power supply's here. I think we tip it right up on its end here, and we'll look underneath. And this is where the truth shall be revealed. I think I see some more truth here. Okay. Okay, hang on a sec while I stabilize it. That's good enough there. That's good. Yeah. Whoa. 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 Okay, so what are we seeing here? Seeing the need for more light. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think I see a lot of work in here that's been done. You know, this big orange guy. Very clean looking resistors. These guys here. This guy here. Looks like lots of capacitors have gone in, but they look like they've come from a junk box because they all look different. Still have, there's a big paper capacitor here, a really big one tucked down there. So exactly how this was being done. There's a paper one here. No, that's not paper. Is it? There's one here. Wax one here. And a lot of these, even if they are replaced, like this one, you know, the plastic shell is fractured on this. You know, I got to get the close-up camera going on this myself because I need to take a closer look at this situation here. Let me flip over to it. Oh, it's probably set for really close observation. Let's see, how close? Really close. Really close. That's too close. Okay, let me just change the focus here. Just bear with me for a moment while I take care of my computer issues here. Okay, so I'm just, as often is the case, I'm just calling up the dialog box for this camera so I can alter its focus. How about like that? That should be pretty good. Okay, we'll start in the top right corner of this radio. What do we see right away? It looks like a choke coil to me, the way it's connected. Come down. These are pretty clean looking resistors, and they look like they've been soldered in. A lot of very clean looking resistors. Maybe I'm being fooled. But then we have these guys, these carbon rod ones. Look at this one. This one's taking a little bit of heat. Now this guy's really cooked up. He's not looking too healthy. Look at this wire. Look at this wire. Oh. Melted right into it. So, you know, these guys get hot mostly because somebody else isn't doing their job anymore. Some capacitor or something. So that looks very odd. That screw there, that looks extremely odd. What is that doing? This is not a manufactured situation. Look at all these nuts down here have been taken off. What is above? What is above? Okay, let's look at what's above. Right above. Oh, is this can? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Somebody's taking off these cans? What are they doing in there? Don't go in there. Somebody's gone up in these cans. And look, these wires look resoldered too, so I think, I don't know what to think now. Oh boy. Let's go right up on the top here. Yeah, you see this is new, but none of these capacitors match, which is screaming out a junk box. Look at that resistor there. Huh. That's clearly a modern resistor. Oh my gosh. So when I see this much work in a radio like this, it gives me the shivers to think what mistakes might be in here. Like that resistor I just popped off. There could be cold solder joints in here now. I don't know anything about how this was done. Look at the lead from here coming up onto that terminal there. Does it look cold? Maybe not. It doesn't. There's no solder meniscus on the wire. Oh boy, this could just be full of little tiny annoying problems. It's fairly open, you know, for getting in here and working. How did they get that big guy in there? It's another sign of a junk box repair. The leads on the capacitors would be short. They're forced to do tricky stuff like this. How tricky is that? Maybe it's not so tricky. And the other thing about a junk box repair, of course, is, you know, close is okay. So, and you get parts out that aren't exactly the correct part. This guy's been burned up? No, I don't think so. It won't be exactly the right amount, the right size, but good enough, you know, in it goes. Yeah, this resistor looks like it's had the biscuit here, where the contact wire is. Yes, had the biscuit. Wow, well, there's another one that's been stuck in. All different types. So the advantage of this might be that the guy who did this was very diligent, and oh my, look at that. I think it's soldered. That's a hunt. Oh my god, he's installed a hunt capacitor on this long wire. Like, why would this be? Like, what kind of... Oh! Great. Where'd that come from? Great. Okay, so we're in big trouble here with this. We're in big trouble. And that's just like a lap solder job. You know, I do a lot of bad solder jobs too, but I try to make the wires hooked so they cannot just separate like this. Where'd this come from? I don't know. Just stick it anywhere. Oh, I see where it came. It came right here. Look, it was an attempt at a hook. I think that's where it came from. But why on a long wire like this? This is not normal. Oh. Right up to the other one that popped off. Wow. This is, why would he replace so many resistors and then leave these ugly ones in there? describe what he had in the junk box. Let's keep going. You know, I can't imagine he replaced all these resistors. Oh, what's that? What's that doing there? 500 volt DC. 71 degrees C. Why would they put the temperature right on it? Type CP. Something special about this little capacitor? Where is he in the circuit? Well, those are the 45s. I don't know. Bypass? Maybe it's a bypass capacitor for cathode resistor. Anybody see a cathode resistor down there? I don't know. Let's keep going. We're going down. So this is the plug for the amplifier. This thing here. Orange wires, nothing original about those. So that's going up to the light here. Picking it off. So this is probably the best place to get 6.3, or maybe not best, but a place to get 6.3 volts. Carrying on, going down. So there's the back of one of the capacitors. It just doesn't have that I'm original look. It's got this white wire. There's no way this is an original wire. What's it doing here? It's coming up to a terminal on this guy. And what's this guy? I don't know. Another transformer. There's a lot of piles of copper in this radio. Man. Okay, back to here. The power cord coming in here. White is here. Now, he put a fuse in the amplifier. He did not put a fuse in here. He should have put a fuse in here and not the amplifier, I think. That's nicely done though. How that power cord comes in, nicely done. That white wire, is that just tacked on there? That's pretty solid. No, I know it's better. Going down, okay, another capacitor here. So why are all these wires changed and soldered and all that? Because these capacitors have been replaced. They certainly look like it. Another good thing. That's another good thing. How those are soldered on there doesn't look so good. What did he do? He got both. What did he do in there? Let's look from this angle. Looks a little different. I don't know. Just hooked up the wires. Nothing funny. Some big resistors here. Oh, in series. Okay, another junk box. Repair. 2 resistors. What did you do this one? Just barely put it on there. It's on there pretty good. But you know, that's another sign of junk box work. I understand. People with 1 or 2 radios, kind of doing the hobby thing, aren't about to stock up on parts. I mean, you've got to stock up if you really want to do this stuff, right? You need lots and lots of parts and stuff. If you want to do lots of these. But I'm sure lots of people rely on junk box parts. Well, we got all the way around to the bottom here. Oh, almost. Got to come up here. Okay. It just looks like everything's been unsoldered and resoldered. Just about everything. All these wires going here. What's that guy? And the capacitor hidden up in there. Okay, now we're gonna, just a little bit out of focus, we're gonna look in here. Hopefully absolutely nothing has been done in here, except maybe these have been adjusted as they would need to be. That's a lot of adjustments there. With 2 capacitors. Nicely done though, I mean it's totally accessible. Uh-oh. He's been up in there. Oh my gosh. Uh-oh. I'm looking at all these capacitors. These look like the kinds of things I replace. Like this white one here. He's put it in. Made in USA. Great. And some red thing back in there. And close to a short circuit? Not really. Wow. Well, getting up in here. Wow. Okay, so that's not an easy deal. Let's look in this one and see what's in here. Oh, what's that down there? It looks like another junk box capacitor. Oh boy. So how would somebody do this, what looks like a lot of serious difficult work, but leave all these guys in here? You know why? I know why. No high wattage resistors in the junk box. So they all stayed behind. And generally I found these resistors to actually be pretty good. Now this one's beat up, so maybe it's not accurate anymore. Pretty sure it's loose here on the end. But my experience with these have actually been surprisingly good, as ugly as they are. Holy smokes. Let's look down here. Bottom here. Thank God no more capacitors. No wire going through here. Those resistors down there, again, those could be brand new from whoever did the work in here. Look at that capacitor. And then I think there's a paper one down there. Is that what that is? Way under here? So I think what I'm seeing there, and the one you can read VDC on it or something like that, it looks like a paper wax capacitor, but the lead is cut and soldered. You know, that suggests a replacement. And then just below it, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I knew this was going to be a lot to chew. I didn't know it would be this much. This much stuff. Ah, there it is right there. Paper. Where is it? Way down in there. There. Way down in here. Oh, look at this. This gives you an idea how he did it. So there's a nut missing at the top of this one. So you could pull these panels out, and then I guess you can work in there. And the alternative, turn this around here. The alternative is to take this whole thing off. I think that's the plate. That's what's holding that plate right here. That's what it is, all right. You couldn't get it back in because there's a part in the way now or something. I think that's what happened. I think he put in a part, and then the plate, you can't line it up with the hole anymore. what did he do under these? See, these look like they've never been removed, just from looking at the wires here, but there's no guarantee on any of that. These are all capacitor tuned up here. That's great. There's a W written on this tube down here. W. That must be the west tube. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I gotta think a lot about this. What we're looking at here is I'm sure, top of the line or nearly top of the line radio. I think this is from early 30s. It's clearly an example of a highly engineered radio. I think they all are. They're pretty. You had to be pretty serious to figure something like this out and then put it in a factory and start producing them. I mean, it's all very, very serious undertaking. Sparton, it's got a big name. AO, I don't know what that is. AO receiver model 1667. Chassis type. Looks like it could be 1567. That's kind of weird. 115 volts, 60 cycles, 170 watts. Wow. Wow, you know what? I mean, I run my whole house on 170 watts these days. And a big long list of the Sparks Withington Company. Huh? Who's that? I've never heard of them. Let's take a closer look at that. Sparton AC receiver model number, as I read them. The Sparks Withington Company, Jackson, Michigan. Never heard of that. Sparks. You know, I don't think you should name your electronics company the Sparks Company. I don't think that's a good idea. Licensed only for the radio amateur, experimental, and broadcast reception used under the following patents. Huh? Licensed only for the radio amateur, experimental, and broadcast reception used under the following patents of the Radio Corporation of America and its associated companies. The manufacture and or sale of this apparatus does not imply any license under any patent related to the structure or manufacture of radio tubes. What are they concerned about here? Wow. That's scary. Radio amateur? You need a license? Now, like in Canada and Britain, you needed a license to operate radios during the war era because they wanted to know who had listening equipment. And they wanted to know who had listening equipment but wasn't telling them about it. So they literally go up and down the streets of suspicious areas listening for local oscillators in unlicensed radios back then. Wow, I got a lot to think about here. Man alive, this is not something to just jump right into. Absolutely not. For all I know, this is a bag of problems caused by somebody else. I don't know. And trying to solve other people's mistakes, trying to solve your own mistakes is really, really tough. Really, really tough. So I think that's it for this morning. There's no way I'm plugging this in. Certainly not at this point. I found parts not even connected. So we're going to have to leave it at there. I will churn this around in my head and try to figure out what the next step is. Oh, that's right, and there's the cable connecting them. Oh boy. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy your day.